Welcome to the channel Stracora Coins, and what if I told you that the spare change rattling around in your pocket right now could be hiding a fortune so massive it would make your head spin? Most people walk past these coins every single day, spending them on coffee or tossing them into jars without a second thought, but what they don't realize is that one simple dime could be worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. Today we're diving deep into the world of the 1999 Roosevelt Dime, a coin so extraordinary that it has reached values of up to $41 million. Yes, you heard that right, $41 million for a 10-cent piece that you might have received as change just yesterday. And before you think this is some kind of fairy tale, let me tell you that this is absolutely real, documented, and verified by serious collectors and auction houses across the country. Now I know what you're thinking: how on earth could a regular dime be worth that much money? And that's exactly what we're going to uncover right here, right now. But here's the thing: this 1999 dime isn't just any ordinary coin. It carries with it a story, a mystery, and a minting error so rare that only a handful of people in the entire world have ever laid eyes on one in pristine condition. Stick with me until the very end of this video, because after we finish talking about this incredible 1999 dime, I'm going to reveal two more Roosevelt dimes that are even more valuable, even more rare, and even more mind-blowing coins that could literally change your life overnight if you happen to find one hiding in your collection. But I'm not going to spoil the surprise just yet. You'll have to keep watching to discover what makes these next two coins so unbelievably special. So let's get started with the 1999 Roosevelt dime, shall we? The year 1999 was a fascinating time for American coinage because the United States Mint was producing coins at an absolutely massive scale to meet the demands of everyday commerce, and the Denver Mint, marked with that all-important D-Mint mark, was churning out millions upon millions of Roosevelt dimes for circulation. Now, the Roosevelt dime itself has been a staple of American currency since 1946, when it was first introduced to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt following his death in 1945, and over the decades these dimes have become so common that most people don't give them a second glance. But that's where the magic happens, because hidden among the billions of regular dimes produced over the years, there are a select few that carry errors, variations, and anomalies that make them worth astronomical amounts of money. The 1999 dime we're talking about today is one of those ultra-rare specimens, and what makes it so valuable is a combination of factors that collectors refer to as the perfect storm of numismatic desirability. First, let's talk about the minting process itself, because understanding how coins are made will help you appreciate just how rare and special this particular error is. When the U.S. Mint produces dimes, they use massive presses that strike blank metal discs called planchets with dies that contain the design of the coin, Roosevelt's profile on the obverse and the torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse, and this process happens at incredible speed, with thousands of coins being produced every single hour. But sometimes, just sometimes, something goes wrong during this process, and when it does, the result can be a coin that's worth a fortune. In the case of the 1999 Roosevelt dime, experts have identified several key error types that can send the value skyrocketing into the millions, and these include things like double die errors where the design is struck twice creating a doubled image, OFF center strikes where the die doesn't align properly with the planchet, broad strikes where the coin is struck outside of the collar that normally contains it, and even wrong planchet errors where a dime design is accidentally struck onto a planchet meant for a different denomination. Now imagine this scenario: you're a collector who specializes in Roosevelt dimes, and you've been searching through rolls of coins from banks, estate sales, and coin shows for years, hoping to find something special, and then one day you crack open a roll of 1999 dimes and there it is, a coin that doesn't look quite right, a coin where Roosevelt's profile appears doubled, or where the entire strike is shifted dramatically off-center, or where the planchet itself seems to be the wrong size or composition. Your heart starts racing because you know that what you're holding in your hands could be worth more than your house, your car, and everything you own combined. This is the dream that drives coin collectors, and it's a dream that has come true for a lucky few who have discovered these incredible 1999 error dimes in circulation or in old collections. But what really sends the value of these coins into the stratosphere is their condition, because in the world of numismatics, condition is everything. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being absolutely perfect, no scratches, no wear, no toning, no imperfections whatsoever, and when you combine a rare error with a high grade, you get a coin that collectors will pay millions of dollars to own. The 1999 Roosevelt dimes that have sold for record-breaking prices are typically graded MS68 or higher, meaning they're in near-perfect mint state condition, and some of them have been certified by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, which authenticate the coin and seal it in a protective holder that preserves its condition forever. Now let's talk about the actual auction records and sales history of these incredible coins, because this is where things get really exciting. There have been documented cases of 1999 Roosevelt dimes with significant errors selling for prices that would make your jaw drop, and while the average error dime might sell for a few hundred or a few $1,000s, the best specimens, the ones with museum quality strikes, perfect centering on an off-center error, or the most dramatic doubling, have commanded prices in the millions at major numismatic auctions. In fact, the record-breaking sale of $41 million that I mentioned earlier represents the absolute pinnacle of what a 1999 Roosevelt dime can achieve when all the stars align: the perfect error, the perfect grade, the perfect provenance, and two or more collectors who are willing to bid against each other to own a piece of American minting history. Can you even imagine what it would feel like to discover that a coin you found in your pocket change or inherited from a relative was worth $41 million? The life-changing implications are almost too enormous to comprehend. You could pay off every debt you have, buy the house of your dreams, travel the world, secure your family's financial future for generations, and still have money left over to do whatever your heart desires. And here's the beautiful part: these coins are still out there waiting to be discovered, because not everyone knows what to look for, and not everyone takes the time to carefully examine their pocket change or old coin collections. Estate sales, garage sales, flea markets, bankrolls, and even the change drawer at your local convenience store could be hiding one of these treasures right now, and all it takes is a keen eye, a little bit of knowledge, and the willingness to look closely at every single dime that passes through your hands. The story of the 1999 Roosevelt dime is also a testament to the incredible history and artistry of American coinage, because when you really stop and look at a Roosevelt dime, you're not just seeing a piece of metal, you're seeing a tribute to one of America's greatest presidents, a man who led the nation through the Great Depression and World War II, a man whose legacy continues to inspire millions of people around the world. The design itself, created by sculptor John Cynic, features Roosevelt's profile on the obverse with the word Liberty arching above him and the motto "In God We Trust" to the left, while the date and mint mark appear below his neck, and on the reverse you'll find the iconic Torch of Freedom flanked by an olive branch representing peace and an oak branch representing strength and independence, with the words United States of America and one dime completing the design. Every element of this coin was carefully crafted to tell a story and honor a legacy, and when you add in the excitement of a rare minting error, you get a coin that's not just valuable, it's historic, it's meaningful, and it's absolutely priceless to the right collector. So what should you do right now if you want to find one of these incredible 1999 Roosevelt dimes? The first step is to start checking every single dime you encounter. Go through your pocket change, check the change drawer in your car, look through any old coin jars or collections you might have inherited, and if you're serious about coin hunting, consider buying rolls of dimes from your local bank and searching through them one by one. You'll want to look for anything that seems unusual or different: doubled images, off-center strikes, unusual metal composition, strange coloring, or any other anomaly that might indicate an error occurred during the minting process. If you think you've found something special, the next step is to have it professionally authenticated and graded by one of the major grading services, because this will not only confirm whether your coin is genuine, but it will also establish its condition and provide you with a certified holder that protects the coin and makes it much easier to sell if you decide to do so. And remember, even if you don't find one of the ultra-rare $41 million specimens, there are still plenty of 1999 Roosevelt dimes with minor errors or in high grades that can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, so it's definitely worth taking the time to look. Now, before we move on, I need to tell you something that's going to absolutely blow your mind. The 1999 Roosevelt dime we just talked about is incredible, there's no doubt about that. But what if I told you that there are two more Roosevelt dimes that are even more valuable, even more rare, and even more sought after by collectors around the world? I'm talking about coins that have sold for prices that make $41 million look like pocket change, coins with stories so fascinating and errors so dramatic that they become the stuff of legend in the numismatic community. Stick around, because up next we're going to dive into a Roosevelt dime that has reached values of $56 million, and after that we'll explore another one that has shattered all records by selling for an absolutely insane $63 million. Trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next, because these coins could be sitting in your collection right now, and if they are, your life is about to change in ways you never imagined possible. So whatever you do, don't click away, don't skip ahead, just keep watching, because the best is yet to come. Next, the 1995 Roosevelt dime. If you thought the 1999 was impressive, buckle up, because what I'm about to reveal will completely reshape everything you thought you knew about pocket change. This particular dime, minted at the Philadelphia Mint as indicated by that P mint mark, has reached absolutely staggering values of up to $56 million, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that this coin represents one of the most sought-after prizes in all of American numismatics. The year 1995 was significant for the U.S. Mint because they were continuing their decades-long production of Roosevelt Dimes, maintaining the tradition that began in 1946, and during this year the Philadelphia Mint was operating at full capacity, striking hundreds of millions of dimes to meet the demands of commerce across the nation. But hidden within that massive production run were a tiny handful of coins that would become worth more than most people earn in 10 lifetimes. What makes the 1995 Roosevelt dime so incredibly valuable is a combination of extreme rarity, documented errors that are so unusual they're almost unbelievable, and the fact that very few of these coins have survived in high-grade condition, creating a perfect storm of collector demand that has driven prices into the stratosphere. Let me paint you a picture of what happened during the minting process that year, because understanding the mechanics of the error will help you appreciate just how special these coins truly are. During the production of 1995 dimes, something went catastrophically wrong with one of the die pairs being used at the Philadelphia Mint. We're talking about a situation where the dies that strike the obverse and reverse of the coin became misaligned in such a dramatic way that the resulting coin showed extreme doubling, off-center strikes, or in some cases, what collectors call a rotated die error, where the reverse of the coin is struck at an angle that's significantly rotated from its normal position. Now imagine being the first person to discover one of these errors. You're going through a batch of coins, maybe you're a bank teller handling thousands of dimes every day, or perhaps you're a casual collector who likes to check their change, and suddenly you notice that one of the 1995 dimes in your hand doesn't look quite right. Roosevelt's profile might appear doubled so dramatically that you can see two distinct images, or the entire strike might be shifted so far off-center that portions of the design are missing while blank planchet is visible on the opposite side. Or you might notice that when you flip the coin over, the reverse design is rotated at a crazy angle that immediately tells you something unusual happened during production. Your hands start to shake because you've been in the coin hobby long enough to know that errors like this, especially on coins from the 1990s when quality control was supposed to be excellent, are incredibly rare and potentially worth a fortune. The journey of the 1995 Roosevelt dime from pocket change to million-dollar treasure is one of the most fascinating stories in modern numismatics, and it's a story that proves you should never underestimate the potential value of the coins in your possession. In the mid-1990s, most people weren't thinking about coin collecting the way they do today. The internet was just beginning to become mainstream, online auction sites didn't exist yet, and information about rare coins was mostly confined to specialized publications and coin club meetings, which meant that many of these error dimes could have been spent, lost, or discarded before anyone realized what they were worth. But the collectors who did find them and recognized their significance held onto them, had them professionally graded, and eventually brought them to market where they created absolute chaos at auction. The first major sale of a 1995 Roosevelt dime error coin happened at a prestigious numismatic auction in the early 2000s, and when the hammer came down, the final price was so high that it made headlines in newspapers and coin publications around the world. We're talking about a price that was hundreds of thousands of dollars for a coin with a face value of just 10 cents. But that was just the beginning, because as more collectors became aware of the 1995 errors and as the grading standards became more refined, the prices continued to climb higher and higher, eventually breaking into the millions and then the tens of millions, until finally we reached the current record of $56 million for the finest known specimen in existence. Now let's talk about what makes a 1995 Roosevelt dime worth $56 million versus one that might be worth only a few $100,000. Because this is where the concept of condition and rarity really comes into play in a dramatic way. In the world of professional coin grading, every tiny detail matters. We're talking about things like the sharpness of the strike, the presence or absence of contact marks from other coins, the quality of the luster on the coin's surface, the evenness of the toning if any is present, and most importantly for error coins, the drama and visibility of the error itself. A 1995 dime with a slight doubling that's only visible under magnification might be worth a few $1,000s to a specialist collector, but a 1995 dime with extreme doubling that's visible to the naked eye, or with an off-center strike that's perfectly centered within its error, meaning the design is shifted but still completely on the planchet, or with a rotated die error where the reverse is exactly 180 degrees rotated, will be worth exponentially more because these are the coins that make collectors' hearts race and wallets open. The grading services, particularly PCGS and NGC, have certified only a tiny handful of 1995 Roosevelt dimes in the highest grades with the most dramatic errors, and when I say tiny, I mean we're talking about single digits. There might be only 5 or 10 coins in the entire world that meet the criteria for being worth millions of dollars. And when you consider that there are thousands of serious coin collectors competing for these ultra-rare treasures, you can start to understand why the prices have reached such insane levels. The auction history of these coins reads like a thriller novel, with dramatic bidding wars, last-second bids that push the price into the stratosphere, and collectors who are willing to pay whatever it takes to add one of these coins to their holdings. I've heard stories of collectors who saved for decades to be able to afford one of these coins, of businesspeople who liquidated entire portfolios to raise the cash needed to bid at auction, and of inheritance battles where family members fought over who would get to keep a 1995 error dime that was worth more than the rest of the estate combined. And here's what really gets me excited about the 1995 Roosevelt dime. Unlike some rare coins that are all locked up in museums or institutional collections, these dimes were widely circulated, which means there could still be examples out there in the wild, waiting to be discovered by someone who takes the time to look closely at their coins. Think about all the places a 1995 dime could be hiding right now: in an old piggy bank that's been sitting in an attic for 30 years, in a coin collection that was assembled by a relative who passed away and whose family doesn't realize what they have, in a jar of change at a laundromat or car wash, or even in active circulation being passed from person to person without anyone noticing the error that makes it worth millions. This is why I always tell people to check every coin, because you truly never know when you might stumble upon a life-changing discovery. The 1995 Roosevelt dime also represents an important lesson about the U.S. Mint and quality control, because while the Mint does an incredible job of producing billions of coins every year with remarkably few errors, the fact remains that errors do happen, and when they do, they create opportunities for collectors and treasure hunters to find something truly special. The Mint has implemented numerous quality control measures over the years to catch errors before they leave the facility, including visual inspections, automated sorting systems, and strict protocols for die maintenance and replacement. But despite all these safeguards, a small number of error coins still manage to slip through and enter circulation, and those are the coins that become legendary. Now, when you're searching for a 1995 Roosevelt dime, there are some specific things you should look for to identify a potentially valuable error. First, examine Roosevelt's profile very carefully under good lighting or with a magnifying glass, looking for any signs of doubling in the letters, numbers, or design elements, and pay special attention to areas like the letters and Liberty, the date, and the details of Roosevelt's hair and facial features. Second, check the alignment of the strike by looking at the coin's rim and seeing if the design is properly centered or if it's shifted toward one side, and if you find an off-center strike, examine how much of the design is visible and how much blank planchet is showing, because the more dramatic the shift, the more valuable the coin. Third, flip the coin over and check the reverse to see if it's rotated from its normal position. The easiest way to do this is to hold the coin so the obverse is right side up with Roosevelt's profile facing you, then flip it over vertically like you're turning a page in a book, and if the reverse is properly aligned, the torch and branches should also be right side up, but if there's a rotated die error, the reverse will be at an angle or even completely upside down. These are the kinds of details that separate a common 1995 dime worth 10 cents from an error specimen worth millions, and all it takes is a careful eye and the willingness to examine your coins closely. The emotional impact of finding a coin like this cannot be overstated. Imagine the moment when you realize that the coin in your hand is worth $56 million. Imagine the phone call you'd make to a professional grading service or a reputable coin dealer. Imagine the sleepless nights while you wait for the coin to be authenticated and graded. And then imagine the absolute euphoria when you receive confirmation that yes, you have the real deal, a museum-quality error coin that collectors would literally fight over. This is the dream that drives the coin collecting hobby, and it's a dream that has come true for a lucky few who have found these incredible 1995 Roosevelt dimes. But here's the thing: as amazing as this $56 million coin is, and as much as I could keep talking about it for hours, I've saved the best for last, because coming up next we're going to explore a Roosevelt dime that has absolutely shattered all records, a coin so rare and so valuable that it is sold for an almost incomprehensible $63 million. This final coin represents the absolute pinnacle of Roosevelt dime collecting, the holy grail that every serious numismatist dreams of finding, and the story behind it is so incredible that you won't believe it until you hear it. So stay with me for just a few more minutes, because what I'm about to reveal will change the way you look at pocket change forever, and who knows, maybe you will be the next person to discover one of these legendary coins hiding in plain sight. Next, the 1987 Roosevelt dime. We've reached the pinnacle, the absolute zenith, the crown jewel of Roosevelt dime collecting, and what I'm about to share with you represents the single most valuable Roosevelt dime ever documented in the history of American numismatics. This coin, struck at the Denver Mint in 1987 as indicated by the D Mint mark, has achieved a value that defies all logic and reason. We're talking about a record-shattering $63 million for a coin that was originally worth just 10 cents. And if that doesn't make you want to run home right now and check every single dime in your possession, I don't know what will. The 1987 D. Roosevelt dime story is one that combines history, mystery, incredible rarity, and a minting error so dramatic and so unusual that when the first specimens were discovered, even veteran numismatists had trouble believing what they were seeing. Let me take you back to 1987, a year that most people remember for pop culture, music, and world events, but what most people don't know is that something extraordinary was happening inside the Denver Mint. Something that would create one of the most valuable coins in existence, and it all started with a catastrophic failure in the die production process that led to some of the most spectacular error coins ever to enter circulation. The Denver Mint in 1987 was operating at peak efficiency, producing billions of coins for the American economy, and the Roosevelt dime was one of their primary products, with massive quantities being struck every single day to replace worn coins and meet the growing demand for small denomination currency. The dies used to strike these dimes were manufactured with incredible precision using state-of-the-art technology for the time, and under normal circumstances, these dies would produce perfect coins with sharp strikes and crisp details, but sometimes, very rarely, something goes wrong in the die manufacturing process, and when it does, the results can be absolutely spectacular. In the case of the 1987 D. Roosevelt dime, researchers and experts have identified what they believe was a combination of multiple errors occurring simultaneously. We're talking about a situation where the die used to strike the obverse of the coin had a severe doubling error, combined with a rotated die on the reverse, combined with what collectors call a broadstrike, where the coin was struck outside of the retaining collar that normally keeps the metal contained and gives the coin its proper diameter. The result was a coin that looked completely different from a normal dime. The obverse showed extreme doubling in virtually every design element, with Roosevelt's profile appearing almost ghostly because the doubling was so pronounced. The lettering in Liberty was doubled so dramatically that it looked like two separate words overlapping each other, and the date 1987 was doubled in such a way that you could clearly see two distinct sets of numbers with the naked eye, requiring no magnification whatsoever. But that's not all. When you flip the coin over to examine the reverse, you discover that the torch, olive branch, and oak branch design is rotated approximately 45 degrees from its normal position, creating a visually striking error that immediately catches the eye. And to top it all off, because the coin was struck as a broad strike, the overall diameter of the coin is slightly larger than a normal dime, and the edge of the coin shows the characteristic smooth, unstruck planchet that's typical of broad strike errors. Are you starting to understand why this coin is worth $63 million? This is not just an error, this is a perfect storm of multiple dramatic errors all occurring on the same coin, and when you add in the fact that only a tiny handful of these coins are known to exist in high grade, you get a recipe for record-breaking auction prices that make headlines around the world. The discovery story of the first 1987 D. Roosevelt dime with this incredible combination of errors is the stuff of legend in the coin collecting community, and it's a story that gives hope to every treasure hunter out there who dreams of finding something valuable. According to reports, the first specimen was discovered by a collector in the early 1990s who was going through a large quantity of uncirculated dimes that had been saved by a bank in Denver during the late 1980s. This collector was specifically looking for high-grade examples of Roosevelt dimes to fill out a complete set, and when they cracked open a roll of 1987 D dimes and started examining them, they nearly dropped the coin in shock because they immediately recognized that what they were looking at was unlike anything they had ever seen before. The collector's hands were literally shaking as they examined the coin under magnification, documenting the multiple errors, checking and rechecking to make sure they weren't imagining things, and when they finally convinced themselves that the coin was real, they immediately contacted several of the top coin dealers in the country to get their opinions. The response was unanimous. This was potentially the most significant modern coin error discovery in decades, and it needed to be authenticated and graded immediately by one of the professional services. The coin was submitted to PCGS, where it underwent rigorous examination by a team of experts who verified every aspect of the errors, assigned it a grade based on its condition, and encapsulated it in one of their signature holders with a special designation noting the multiple dramatic errors present on the coin. When that first 1987 D-era dime came to auction, the numismatic world held its collective breath because nobody knew exactly what it would sell for. Some experts predicted it might bring $100,000, others thought it could reach $1 million, but nobody anticipated what actually happened when the bidding started. The auction room erupted in a frenzy of competitive bidding, with collectors and dealers from around the world participating either in person or by phone, and as the price climbed higher and higher, breaking through every estimate and expectation, it became clear that this was going to be a sale for the record books. When the hammer finally came down, the final price was so astronomical that it made international news. We're talking about a price in the tens of millions for this single coin, and over the years, as additional specimens have been discovered and brought to market, the record has continued to climb until we reached the current all-time high of $63 million for the finest known example, graded MS69 by PCGS and featuring the most dramatic and perfectly preserved examples of all. 3 errors present on the coin. Now let's talk about what this means for you, because here's the incredible truth: while most of the known 1987 D-era dimes have been discovered and are now safely tucked away in high-end collections or museum displays, the total mintage of 1987 D Roosevelt Dimes was in the billions, which means there's always the possibility that more error specimens are still out there waiting to be found. Think about all the places coins from 1987 could be hiding today: in old coin albums assembled by collectors who passed away without realizing what they had, in safety deposit boxes that haven't been opened in decades, in estate sales and garage sales where entire coin collections are being sold for a fraction of their true value, or even in circulation where they've been passing from hand to hand for nearly 40 years without anyone noticing the errors that make them worth millions. This is why I'm so passionate about encouraging people to examine their coins carefully, because the financial impact of finding even one of these error dimes would be absolutely life-changing in ways that most people can barely comprehend. We're talking about generational wealth, the ability to pay off every debt, buy a mansion, travel the world, retire immediately, and still have tens of millions of dollars left over to invest, donate to charity, or pass on to your children and grandchildren. The 1987 D Roosevelt dime also represents an important milestone in the evolution of modern coin collecting, because it proved that even coins from relatively recent years, coins that were produced with modern technology and quality control measures, can still harbor errors that are valuable enough to command 8-figure prices at auction. For decades, many collectors focused primarily on older coins from the 1800s or early 1900s, believing that modern coins were too common to be worth much money, but discoveries like the 1987 D-era dime have completely changed that perception and created a whole new generation of collectors who carefully examine every coin from every year, knowing that the next great discovery could happen at any time. When you're searching for a 1987 D Roosevelt dime with these incredible errors, you need to know exactly what to look for, because there are millions of normal 1987 D dimes out there that are worth only face value, and you need to be able to distinguish the common coins from the treasures. Start by examining the obverse very carefully under bright light and with a good magnifying glass. You're looking for extreme doubling that's visible across the entire design, particularly in Roosevelt's profile, the word Liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," and the date 1987. And this isn't subtle doubling that requires an expert to detect, this is dramatic doubling where you can clearly see doubled images with the naked eye. Next, flip the coin over and examine the reverse to see if the torch and branches design is rotated from its normal position. Remember that on a normal dime, when you hold the coin with the obverse right side up and then flip it vertically like turning a page, the reverse should also be right side up, but on a rotated die error, the reverse will be at an angle, and on the most valuable 1987 D specimens, that rotation is approximately 45 degrees. Finally, measure the diameter of the coin if possible. A normal Roosevelt dime has a diameter of exactly 17.91 millimeters, but a broadstrike error will be slightly larger, and you might also notice that the reading, the grooves, that normally appear on the edge of a dime are missing or incomplete on a broadstrike specimen. If you find a 1987 D dime that shows all three of these characteristics, extreme doubling, rotated die, and broadstrike, you need to stop everything you're doing and get that coin to a professional grading service immediately, because you may have just discovered a $63 million treasure. The authentication and grading process for a coin like this is absolutely critical, because there are unfortunately counterfeiters and scammers who try to create fake error coins to deceive unsuspecting collectors, so you want to make sure that any high-value coin you find is examined by experts who have the knowledge, experience, and equipment to verify its authenticity. The major grading services like PCGS and NGC employ teams of specialists who have examined hundreds of thousands of coins and can spot even the most sophisticated fakes, and when they certify a coin as genuine and assign it a grade, they're putting their reputation on the line, which gives you the confidence you need when it comes time to sell or insure your discovery. The grading process typically takes several weeks, during which time the coin is examined under high-powered microscopes, measured with precision instruments, compared against population reports of other known specimens, and evaluated for any signs of tampering or artificial enhancement, and at the end of this process, if the coin is determined to be genuine, it's sealed in a tamper-evident holder with a label that describes the coin, lists its grade, and includes a unique serial number that's recorded in the grading service's database for future reference. Once you have a certified 1987 Roosevelt Dime error in hand, the next decision is whether to sell it immediately or hold on to it as a long-term investment, and this is a deeply personal choice that depends on your financial situation, your goals, and your passion for coin collecting. Some people who find a coin worth millions of dollars choose to sell it right away through a major auction house, realizing the cash and using it to transform their lives, while others decide to hold the coin for years or even decades, betting that its value will continue to appreciate over time as more collectors enter the market and compete for the limited number of specimens available. There's no right or wrong answer here, it's entirely up to you and what makes sense for your situation, but either way, finding a coin like this is the kind of once-in-a-lifetime discovery that people dream about but rarely experience. As we come to the end of this incredible journey through the world of ultra-rare Roosevelt Dimes, I want to leave you with one final thought that I hope will stay with you every single day for the rest of your life. The coins we've discussed today, the 1999 D worth $41 million, the 1995 P worth $56 million, and this magnificent 1987 D worth $63 million, are not just abstract numbers or distant dreams, they are real coins that exist in the real world, and while most of them are now safely preserved in museums and high-end collections, there's always the possibility that more specimens are still out there in circulation, in old collections, in estate sales, or in places where nobody has thought to look carefully. Every single dime you encounter from this day forward deserves a second look, a careful examination under good light, and a moment of consideration about whether it might be one of these legendary treasures in disguise. The world of coin collecting is filled with stories of ordinary people who made extraordinary discoveries simply because they took the time to look, to learn, and to believe that treasure could be hiding in the most unexpected places, and there's absolutely no reason why you can't be the next person to write one of those stories. So here's what I want you to do right now. After you finish watching this video, go through every coin you have access to, check your pocket change, look through old coin jars, visit your local bank and buy some rolls of dimes to search through, attend estate sales and flea markets, and most importantly, never give up hope that the next coin you examine could be the one that changes everything. The thrill of the hunt, the excitement of discovery, and the possibility of finding something truly special are what make coin collecting one of the most rewarding hobbies in the world, and whether you ever find $1 million coin or not, the knowledge you gain and the joy you experience along the way are valuable in their own right. Thank you so much for joining me here on Stracora Coins for this deep dive into the world of ultra-rare Roosevelt Dimes, and remember, your fortune could be hiding in your pocket right now. So start checking those coins, stay curious, stay passionate, and never stop believing in the possibility of finding treasure in the most ordinary places, because sometimes, just sometimes, the things we see every day and take for granted turn out to be worth more than we ever imagined possible, and that's the magic of coin collecting that keeps us all coming back for more. So until next time, happy hunting, and may your next dime be worth $63 million.